A veteran crime scene investigator looked at the Nancy Guthrie ransom notes and said 4 words that cut through 6 months of public speculation like a blade through fog. This sounds like a con to me. Not I have concerns, not there are questions that need to be answered, not the notes warrant further examination. This sounds like a con to me. Sheryl McCollum did not hedge, she did not qualify, she did not leave room for interpretation. A woman who has spent her career processing physical evidence at crime scenes, who has read ransom notes and threats and confessions as part of her professional life, looked at these 2 letters and called them what she believes they are: a con, a fraud, a performance designed to look like something it is not. And she did not arrive at that conclusion from a gut feeling. She arrived at it from 4 structural failures in the notes. 4 things that anyone can see once they are pointed out. 4 red flags that separate a real ransom note from a fake one with the precision of a scalpel separating tissue from bone. On July 24th, McCollum published her analysis. And within hours, it was rippling across every platform covering the Nancy Guthrie case. Not because it was sensational, because it was logical, because each of her 4 points dismantled a different piece of the note's credibility. And by the time she was done, there was almost nothing left standing. Let us walk through all 4, because each one reveals something about the notes that you were not supposed to notice. Red flag number 1, the greeting. Hello, Savannah. Read those 2 words again. Hello, Savannah. That is how the note opens, with a greeting, with a social pleasantry, with the kind of opener you use when you are writing a letter to a colleague or sending an email to a friend. Hello, how are you? I hope this finds you well. That is the register of casual correspondence. That is not the register of a kidnapper. McCollum put it plainly. It starts with a greeting. Hello, Savannah. That's not a demand. That's not urgency. She is right. Real ransom notes do not open with hello. They open with proof. They open with a photograph. They open with a fact only the kidnapper and the family would know. They open with the sound of a voice. They open with something that establishes control and credibility in the first breath. Hello is what you say when you want someone to like you. Hello is what you say when you are entering a social space and want to be polite. A kidnapper who is holding your mother does not want to be polite. A kidnapper who is holding your mother wants to establish that they have power and that you are out of options. Hello does none of that. Hello does the opposite. It softens the moment, it eases the reader in, it treats the note like a conversation rather than an emergency. And that tells you something about the author. The greeting reveals a person who is composing a message, not delivering a threat. Someone who sat down and thought about how to start a letter and chose the same opener millions of people use every day in emails and texts. That is not the behavior of someone in the grip of a criminal operation. That is the behavior of someone writing a document, someone performing the role of a kidnapper rather than being one. The greeting is the first crack in the performance. It is the moment the mask slips, just slightly, just enough for a trained eye to catch it. Red flag number 2, the timing. The first ransom note was sent approximately 2 days after Nancy Guthrie disappeared. Not immediately, not within hours, 2 days, 48 hours. McCollum flagged this as a critical failure. If this were a real demand, it would have been sent immediately. Think about the logic. If you are a kidnapper and you want money, time is your enemy. Every hour that passes after the abduction is an hour where the victim might be found. Every hour is an hour where the police might trace your movements. Every hour is an hour where public attention grows, search efforts expand, surveillance footage gets reviewed, and the window for your escape narrows. A kidnapper who wants $4 million does not wait 48 hours to ask for it. A kidnapper who wants $4 million sends the demand as fast as humanly possible, because every minute of delay is a minute where the entire plan could collapse. So why did the author wait 2 days? McCollum's answer is devastating in its simplicity. The author needed time. Not time to hide Nancy, not time to escape, time to gather information, time to construct the narrative, time to learn the details that would make the note credible. The white smartwatch on the floor, the destroyed floodlight in the backyard. Those details had to come from somewhere. And if the author was not inside the house that night, then those details had to be collected after the fact, from news reports, from social media, from leaked information, from public records. from conversations with people who knew the property. The 48-hour delay is not the patience of a careful criminal. It is the preparation time of a con artist building a prop. A real kidnapper does not need prep time. They already have the information because they were there. They write the note in the parking lot outside the house. They write it in the car on the way to the safe house. They write it within hours because the urgency of the demand matches the urgency of their situation. The 2-day delay tells you the author was not in a hurry. And a kidnapper who is not in a hurry is not a kidnapper. Red flag number 3. 2 deadlines, 2 amounts. The note offers 2 deadlines: Thursday, February 5th at 5 o'clock, Monday, February 9th at 5 o'clock. And it offers 2 amounts: $4 million for the first deadline, $6 million for the second. McCollum called this out with the bluntness of someone who has seen enough real ransom demands to know what they look like. That's not a ransom note. Real kidnappers set one price and one deadline, not because they are simple-minded, because efficiency serves their interest. One demand, one clock, one consequence. That is the structure of extortion. You pay by this time or this happens. Clean, clear, no ambiguity. The recipient knows exactly what they are dealing with and exactly how much time they have. The dual deadline structure in the Nancy Guthrie note does not serve a kidnapper's interest. It serves a manipulator's interest. It creates a sense of escalating pressure. Pay now and save $2 million. Wait and the price goes up. This is not the language of extortion. This is the language of a sales pitch. This is the structure of an infomercial. Buy in the next 30 minutes and get a discount. Call now and pay less. The note is applying the psychological mechanics of commercial urgency to a life or death situation. And that is the tell. Real kidnappers do not offer early bird discounts. They do not create a tiered pricing structure. They do not give you a bargain for acting fast. Because to a real kidnapper, the money is the point. They want the full amount. They do not care about speed versus cost. They care about getting paid. The dual deadline structure tells you the author was thinking about psychology, not payment. They were designing an experience for the reader, not a transaction for themselves. They wanted Savannah to feel the pressure mounting. They wanted the numbers to climb in her head. They wanted the clock to tighten. That is emotional engineering, not financial planning. Red flag 4. The FBI cannot find the sender. McCollum's final point. The FBI has been trying to trace the person who sent these notes, and they have not been able to. They're trying to track this person down, and for whatever reason, they're having trouble. It makes no sense. On the surface, this sounds like the author is sophisticated, untraceable, careful, a ghost. But McCollum flips that interpretation on its head. If the notes were genuine ransom demands, the sender would need to maintain some kind of trail. They would need a way for the family to reach them with payment confirmation. They would need a Bitcoin wallet that they monitor. They would need a communication channel, even if it is one way. A real kidnapper leaves traces because they have to. The act of collecting a ransom requires interaction, and interaction creates evidence. But if the notes are a con, the sender designed them to be untraceable from the start. They never intended to collect. They never intended to communicate again. They never intended to leave a trail because there was never going to be a second act. The FBI's inability to find the sender is not evidence of criminal brilliance. It is evidence of distance. The author was never reachable because they never needed to be reached. They built a one-way weapon. It fired, it landed. And then the launcher dissolved into thin air. 4 red flags, 4 structural failures, each one independently damaging. Together, they form a pattern that points in one direction. The notes do not behave the way ransom notes behave. They behave the way forgeries behave. They behave the way a con behaves. And a veteran crime scene investigator with decades of experience reading the physical language of crime says that is exactly what they are. But here is where McCollum's analysis shifts from clinical to something else entirely, because she did not stop at the structural critique. She went somewhere that every person following this case needs to hear. If they're still working it, they need to work it. This hurts the family. This hurts the investigation. We don't need people out there. This hurts the family. This hurts the investigation. Think about what those words mean in the context of 6 months. For half a year, these notes have been generating public attention, generating speculation, generating theories. generating podcast episodes and news segments and social media discussions and comment section debates. Every time the notes surface in public, the Guthrie family has to relive the moment they first read them. Every time a new expert weighs in, they have to wonder whether this analysis will finally be the one that leads somewhere. Every time the notes are discussed, they have to sit with the possibility that the notes are real and the person who wrote them is still out there holding their mother. And if the notes are fake, every single one of those moments was torture for nothing. Every surge of hope was false. Every wave of fear was manufactured by a con artist who was never holding anyone. Every sleepless night, every anxious phone call, every moment where Savannah or anyone in that family wondered whether they should have paid the Bitcoin, all of it was inflicted by someone who was playing a game with their pain. The con is not just financial, it is emotional. The author did not steal $4 million. They stole 6 months of peace from a family that was already in agony. They stole the ability to grieve clearly. They stole the ability to think clearly. They planted a question in the family's life that has no answer and then walked away while that question ate away at everything around it. Is she alive? Is the note real? Should we have paid? Should we have waited? Did we miss something? Did the FBI miss something? Is the person who wrote this the person who took her? Or is it someone else entirely? Are we being toyed with? Are we being conned? Is our mother alive somewhere waiting for us? Or did a stranger write a letter that made us believe she was when she was not? Those questions do not go away. They do not resolve. They sit in the chest like a stone that cannot be swallowed and cannot be spit out. And every time the notes are publicized, every time they are read aloud on a podcast, every time they are analyzed by a new expert, those questions get sharper, the edges cut deeper, the wound gets wider instead of narrower. McCollum sees this, she sees the human cost, and she is angry about it. Not the kind of anger that shouts, the kind of anger that comes from someone who has spent a career watching families get destroyed by crime and then watching them get destroyed again by the media ecosystem that surrounds crime. The notes, whether real or fake, have become a public spectacle, and the family is the one paying the price for that spectacle. We do not need people out there, she said, people writing fake notes, people exploiting the case for attention, people inserting themselves into an investigation they have no business being part of. Every fake note, every false lead, every con artist who sees a missing person case as an opportunity for chaos, all of them hurt the family and hurt the investigation. They dilute the evidence pool. They waste FBI resources. They send investigators down dead-end paths. And they force a family that is already living in hell to wonder every single time whether this new development is the one that matters or the one that is just another lie. Sheryl McCollum looked at these notes and saw a con. She saw a greeting where there should have been a demand. She saw a delay where there should have been urgency. She saw a sales pitch where there should have been a single price. She saw an untraceable sender who never intended to be traced. And she saw a family being tortured by letters that may never have been real. 4 red flags, 1 verdict, a con. That is not a con. That is cruelty with a pen.